Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to episode 122 of the BJJ Brick Podcast. My name is Byron. I'm here with my buddy Gary.
It's always good to be with my partner in crime, Byron.
All right.
See how I turned that on you?
Yes, you're always changing our status of our friendship relationship to criminal activities.
Yep, partners in crime.
We've got a great episode today, Gary.
What do we got on tap, Byron? Tell everybody.
We got Rolles Gracie.
I tell you, as you guys know who listen to the show, I'm not a huge gi guy, or I'm more of a no gi guy. Hollis came into town to have a gi seminar. I tell you, I learned a ton. Great instructor. If you happen to be in New York City where he teaches at Renzo School, definitely check him out. If he comes to your town for a seminar, I tell you, as much as I've trained in the gi, and I probably spent my good first 5 to 7 years training in the gi, my X choke was terrible. After training, after doing a seminar with him for one day, I was actually hitting people with that. So, I owe it to him just showing little basics. And that's what I really liked about his seminar. He kind of just went back to the basics, showed a lot of things that myself and others had probably missed, on basic techniques. But, the basics make you good. You need to know every little bit about them. And I tell you, it was one seminar that I learned a ton of. Just a great seminar and a great guy.
Cool, Gary. I was jealous. When was the seminar? Like maybe 6 months ago or so?
Longer than that. I think it was last summer. I know the weather was nice because I remember I had to bring in my extra mats to help out, and I think I was wearing shorts. So
there you go.
I remember packing them back up.
Well, I must have been working that day because I remember I could not make it. So I'm glad you got to go and experience this firsthand. And sounds like you had a great time and you learned a lot.
Yep, and I will always let Byron know about missing that. Every time you roll, and I go for the X choke.
Yep. Hey, Gary, I keep my gi with me, so anytime you want to throw the gis on, we're ready to go.
Uh-oh, I lost mine, Byron. Oh, sorry.
They start carrying two gis around.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, see how Gary lost his gi. You don't want to lose contact.
Just make sure your extra gi, if you're going to let me use it, is extra large in the biceps.
That's true. That's one thing that most people don't realize about you is that gis are hard for you to order just because those massive pythons you have coming out of your shoulders. Yeah,
definitely. I'm massive.
Oh, Gary, we're not going anywhere with this thing here.
Yep.
Just like you lost your gi, you don't want to lose contact with us. So if you want to get this podcast like a little show notes sent to you every week in your email box, you can go to our website or our Facebook page and just put your email address in there, and we will send you a copy of the show notes every Tuesday.
That way you'll never miss an episode, and you'll have good times every week.
Yeah, it's virtually guaranteed.
Yep. Speaking of virtually guaranteed good times every week, hey, check out Byron's audiobook. It's called Your First Year at BJJ. It's only $11.99, and it's basically like our podcast of 2 hours of Byron guiding you through your first year in Jiu-Jitsu. A bunch of different chapters, but one I really like, one of my favorites, is Chapter 3, which is called The Benefits of BJJ. And basically, a lot of times we get into Jiu-Jitsu just to learn to fight, just to learn to grapple, how to choke people out, how to break people's arms. Not necessarily, we don't want to break people's arms, but there's other benefits, and I think sometimes we forget that. Health. How many people do you know who lost a ton of weight? Just stuff like that. It's going to make us healthier, better people, and hopefully we'll pay less in health costs, which it's always fun to save money.
Yep, the big money saver with living a healthy lifestyle saves you money and gives you time in the long run as far as a longer, happier life.
And, the cool thing about it is if you save a little bit of money on your health costs, that $11.99 you paid to support the show by getting your first year in BJJ. So it's a win-win for everybody.
That's true. Hey, Gary, since we're talking about win-win, our friend JP Garcia sent us a message on Facebook, which is a great way to get in contact with us if that's what you want to do. He's doing a annual breast cancer awareness event. His mother is a 2-time survivor of breast cancer, and he wants to do things to help promote the awareness and help provide testing for women who are at risk. So he's doing a seminar. It's on February 20th. If you are in the Inland Empire area, this would be perfect to attend. Like I said, it's coming up on the 20th. If you're not in the area, don't worry, my friends. You can still help out and contribute. We'll put a link to this in our show notes, and you're able to donate some money and help support these Jiu-Jitsu people raising money for breast cancer awareness. So win-win. Jiu-Jitsu, support that community. Breast cancer, support that community. Cancer is something that's touched everyone, and it's good to support each other when you get the opportunity. So we're happy to get the word out about this. Our friend JP Garcia is putting it on. He's going to be doing this, sounds like, every year. So give him a little support here, and we'll put links to it in the show notes.
Yep, so thanks to JP Garcia for helping out a great cause. Byron, I think it's time for the quote of the week. And this week we have a good one from everybody's favorite, Albert Einstein. He's not necessarily a jiu-jitsu guy, but I guarantee you sometime when he was growing up, he wrestled with somebody out in the yard.
Yeah, I would say that's probably correct. And he's pretty good. Albert Einstein, he knows what's going on.
Yep, he's a very intelligent man, which means that he would have been a great jiu-jitsu person. But his quote says, "If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough." Once again, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And, I think this happens a lot in jiu-jitsu. I think sometimes, especially when you first start jiu-jitsu, you just want to learn and learn and learn. You want to learn every move. You want to, you want to learn barambolas. You want to learn triangles. You want to learn takedowns. And you're just learning so much. And you may be able to hit these moves, but sometimes do you really understand it? Do you know all the little things? All kind of like what I was going back to Rolles Gracie, talking about, just going back to the basics and showing every little thing and a lot of stuff we miss. But sometimes I think we learn too much without understanding it well enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, most things can be boiled down to a simple concept. And it's okay. Sometimes when you're learning something, you learn like the actual specifics of everything. But the main concept of it could come later. And so if you understand it at a deeper level, the concepts are so obvious to you and so much easier to explain. I think about two people kind of in the middle of nowhere trying to figure out jiu-jitsu. They're trying to figure out this arm bar. It's nothing crazy, but it's complicated if you don't have anybody to show you. So you figure it out and you can arm bar each other. Well, to explain that is going to take more effort and I guess words and demonstrations than somebody who has been doing the armbar for a long time and has seen it and done it many times. Here's how you're going to do it, and here's why, and make it real simple. And that's also a testament to a good instructor, being able to explain things and make them simple versus saying, giving you thousands of details as you're trying to absorb this technique. Sometimes it's pretty ridiculous trying to figure out a move, and it's like, okay, everybody go, and you break, and you're like, okay, what are we doing? Have you had that feeling before, Gary?
I've had that feeling many times during my career, but what it kind of reminds me of this quote is, if you've ever ordered any of Ryan Hall's DVDs, instructional DVDs, and I mean, he just goes so beyond it. He understands everything so well, and he explains it so well where, I'm not just watching the move. I understand stuff behind it just by listening to him. So I always thought he was one of the best people I've ever seen at explaining, conceptualizing the move. Yeah,
and he'll show you. That's a good example. And if you've seen his DVDs, that's perfect. And even if you haven't, you could watch little clips of them on YouTube. I think there's some little snippets of them, like a little advertisement. But he'll give you an example that's not related to what you're actually learning, just to explain it in a very simple way and say, okay, now we're going to take that knowledge and look at it at this angle, and then it makes sense. He's got that deep understanding where he's able to make it very understandable very easily. So good quote there, Gary.
Hey, I came up with a good one for once. I was studying my E equals MC squared, which I do normally on Sundays. And then, I saw this quote by him, so I thought I would put it into the show.
Well, cool. Well, you got that, and I'd like to give us our article of the week here. I'd like to talk about this, something from attacktheback.com.
Attack the Back. I tell you, that's a great website, great URL address.
Yep. The article this week, Gary, tattoos and BJJ. How long before I can roll?
And I tell you, that's a question I hear all the time. It seems like jiu-jitsus are very common, and tattoos are very common in jiu-jitsu, and nobody wants to be out of training for a while, but they still want to get their tattoos.
Yep. The article, it goes into like a basic understanding and care of a tattoo. How to clean it. The first minutes and in the first day and hours and that sort of thing. But really, the question is, because a lot of us practitioners of jiu-jitsu get tattoos, and fairly commonly, how long until I could roll and not have it affect the outcome of my tattoo?
Well, when I got the tattoo that says Byron across my shoulders.
Yes.
I
don't even know.
I really don't have one.
Hey, Gary, we got to level. I have no tattoos. You have a large tattoo of my name, not on your back like you said, but somewhere, right? Or how many do you have? Do you have tattoos, Gary?
I've got the Byron on my calf, and I've got Tap Out on my neck.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'm tattoo free there also.
So we're not by any means the experts at this. If you like tattoos, go for it. Obviously, it's I don't know if it's 50-50 or what the odds are, or the jiu-jitsu position, like 50-50, is represented by people who have tattoos or not. But it's a relevant question, and I'm glad we're covering it today, because somebody,
I hear it all the time.
Yeah, like, do I have to wait? How long? The gi is as nice as some of the gis are nowadays. They're still an abrasive material. Compare that to like a rash guard. Remember our old style gis, Gary?
Oh boy, those are brutal.
Like sandpaper gis.
Yep.
But
I remember you bought a gi once, and we were doing a pummeling drill, and it was me and you drilling. This was way back in probably our first year, and I just remember it was the very first time you wore your gi, and we were done pummeling for a couple minutes. My knuckles and my whole hand were just scraped up beyond belief.
So let's say you get a tattoo, and then here's the article: is if you're getting one and you want to roll, definitely check this article out. We'll put a link to it in the show notes, or you could just Google tattoo and BJJ and maybe Attack the Back. It should pop right up. But it says ready to roll ? Now after 3 days, your tattoo is still probably stings. Doesn't look as fresh as it once did. It's probably not ready to start BJJ. So you're going to be waiting longer than 3 days, Gary.
Longer than 3 days, which you have to be prepared for that.
Yep.
You spend a lot of money on this tattoo, and you want it to look its best, and you want to keep yourself healthy there too.
Yep. So and plus you do this right, and it'll last you quite a while, Gary. Right? I mean, it's a long time until these things fade away.
Yeah. Yep.
But
definitely.
So go down further on the article. A week has gone by now. Personally, this is what the article says. I would look into getting back on the mats to do some drilling and some technique. So, and then also I recommend that you cover your rash guard with you cover your tattoo with a rash guard. That way to keep that abrasive gi from getting on there and really scratching it up. So you're looking at a week without any actual rolling, and at the end of that week, you're going to maybe do some technique and take it easy, but get back on the mat in a light fashion.
So Byron, when can I start rolling?
Well, scroll down the article a little bit more. When can I roll? Like it's getting to be a thing here. I know, you've seen it. But it says it should be about 2 weeks, and then you can roll again. And your tattoo will actually take 6 to 8 weeks to fully heal. So in all that time, you need to be careful with it. Use a rash guard, and keep it clean. You definitely don't want to be getting ringworm on your new tattoo. I don't know what that would do, but that's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, it's probably a bad idea. But another part it brings up is make sure you use unscented moisturizer. Keep it moisturized, I guess is the word, and clean, like you said, to make sure to heal a lot better and quicker.
But okay, here's the problem with that, because when I'm away from the mats for a week or so, I get that like that feeling that I'm missing out. So I have some scented moisturizer that smells like me after I just got done rolling. So,
makes it even worse.
Yeah,
I mean, the time you're off, you can still come to practice and watch. You can come to practice coach. You can go to the YMCA. You can go to your hometown gym, do some cardio, do some weights. You can play basketball. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can still do, to keep your mind sharp, to keep your heart working, to keep your muscles strong.
Yeah. So this whole thing is telling you that it really should be about 2 weeks-ish until you're on the mats doing what you were doing the day before you got that tattoo. And maybe this is like a mixed blessing, like a hidden benefit. So a lot of my friends have a lot of tattoos. That's great, and for them to get another tattoo, I don't feel is like a big deal. But if I was going to get a tattoo, I would be kind of picky about it. I would be really nervous about me getting the right thing. And Gary, I'm 36 years old. If I got a tattoo yet, I'm probably not going to get one. But like it would be a big deal to me to get a tattoo. So maybe don't get the tattoo today. Why not wait a little while until I happen to get something that keeps me off the mat? Whether I sprain my ankle or I tweak my lower back or something like that.
Good call.
And then, so here's, get the design ready, get your artist ready, get the money ready, and sit on it. This is not a bad thing either, because not getting this thing that lasts forever on your body, just thinking about it for a little while, you can get hurt in a week, it might take 6 months or maybe even a year, but just kind of like when I'm off the mats, I'm injured, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to use that time to do that. And it's kind of like you're piling on things that you could do when you're forced off the mat anyway. And it makes you, and maybe in that time, and a month goes by, you're like, well, I don't really like the design anymore. I still haven't got that BJJ brick, tattoo on myself yet. So maybe by the time I actually want to get it, we'll have a new design, Gary.
Yeah, it could, and you never know. So it's good to wait till you get hurt.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. It's like. How do you think that's a decent idea, Gary? Like, it just forces you to put like a little bit of a timer in there?
But the problem is, a lot of times you do know what you want.
Yeah.
A lot of times I think these guys have been thinking about it for a long time. They've been drawing it and picturing it in their head. And, it's, to each their own. If you think you're ready, go get it. The bad part is you really want that tattoo and you're not off. You don't have any time coming up where you're going to be off the mats, and you've been very healthy, so you may never get it that way, though. So that would be the bad part about it. Yeah, well, that would be fortunate that you're injury free and healthy, for a long stretch of training time. I mean, that's awesome. I take that anytime. Oh yeah, I take that.
So just maybe arranging your tattoo schedule and your injury schedule for win-win.
Even vacations. Not everybody trains on vacation. Sometimes the wife, the girlfriend gets upset about that. So sometimes you can't train on vacation. So, that could be a good time.
Huh, that's weird. Not training while you okay. This is like the podcast is nice because I learn new things about things you could do and not train while I'm on vacation is a neat idea. I've never thought about that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of training all the time, one of my buddies got married on a Friday night, and they were getting ready to take off on Saturday morning for their honeymoon. But he postponed taking off for the honeymoon for 2 hours so he could come in and get a roll. That's dedication.
Hey, I hope he saves some energy, man. That's all. I can't dig too deep into that, but that is one time when I was the day before my wedding, I didn't roll. Or I guess the morning of my wedding, I did not roll. I'm doing good for about twice a year. I get kind of a black eye or a pretty decent sized mark on my face, and I didn't want that to happen and get in trouble with any pictures we took. So that's one day I took off for sure.
You could always put makeup on it and get rid of that black eye.
Yeah,
I know you do use makeup a lot.
Yeah, I do. I have that extra little package of makeup ready to go at all times, Gary.
That's important.
So we'll put the links to that article. It's on attacktheback.com on the website. Definitely, if you are a person who's getting tattoos or is looking to get one, check it out. And it's very educational. It's something that Gary and I don't know much about, but it was interesting to learn about that. And also, we'll put the links to the other, not other article. We'll put links to the charity event for breast cancer awareness on our show notes as well. So we got everything at that location.
Yep. Hey, going back to the Attack the Back tattoo article. Hey, show us your tattoos. Post it on our Facebook page, BJJ Brick Facebook page. If you want to, just post a picture of your face or your tattoos. We'd love to see them.
There we go. Probably jiu-jitsu related, if at all possible.
Yep.
If not, jailhouse tats are okay too.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Partner in crime.
All right, with our article wrapped up nicely in plastic to keep the dust off of it while it heals, while that's put away, we'll go ahead and get on with our interview with Rolles Gracie. So here we go.
Diary of the World's Most Interesting Grappler. This is a reading from my diary. As I made my way to the North Pole, my goal was to find a place up there to train. For this is one of the few places on my map that I have never trained. Dear Diary, I'm on day 26 of this seemingly impossible journey across the North Pole. My dogs, they mock me. They know my longing to grapple and roll, and I see them doing that with each other all the time. This seems to be just one more cruel twist of fate of my journey. I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast. Stay sweaty, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Rolles Gracie to the BJJ Brick podcast. Rolles, thank you for coming on the show.
Man, anytime, man. It's a pleasure. I was looking forward to it.
All right. I'm excited to have you here. If somebody hasn't heard of you yet, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of a personal history?
Well, I'm a 37-year-old BJJ practitioner. You know, I was born in the Gracie family. These people know that. And pretty much I've been training my entire life, you know. My record-wise, you know, I competed in everything possible, Worlds, Pan Ams, Nationals in Brazil and here, fought in MMA, competed in wrestling, judo. Man, I did a lot.
Yeah. You've had a lot of success in jiu-jitsu, and you had some really great fights in MMA. I remember your fight against Bob Sapp. That was a really impressive fight that you had there. That kind of stands out to me.
Yeah, man, it was a good fight, you know, because Bob Sapp is a very popular guy, and he's like a humongous, and you know, people wanted to see him fight every time, you know, and it was a very interesting fight for me because even though I thought that he wasn't on, you know, like let me say, his couple fights before me, I thought he wasn't the same Bob Sapp, you know.
Yeah.
People saw him back in the days, but it was challenging to me because I didn't know which Bob Sapp was going to show up on that inside that cage. You know, if it was going to be the Bob Sapp who went through a war with Nogueira and he almost beat him, or the Bob Sapp the same Bob Sapp who knocked out Ernesto Hus twice. Or the Bob Sapp who had no more, you know, his interest in MMA wasn't so big. So it was a challenge to prepare. In a way that I didn't want anything negative to be on the way. So I had to prepare. I prepared for the best Bob Sapp ever.
Wow, and that's a great attitude towards training, and it's hard to tell. Like which Bob Sapp was there because you quickly took him out of where he wanted to be and you kept the fight. You kept him on the bottom and he never did get to start his game really. So good job on that. And that was if somebody hasn't seen it, I recommend they go watch it. It's not a real long fight and you you get to see a well executed game plan.
Yeah, man, it's funny because the other day, a while back, I was at Whole Foods and I asked for help from the guy in Whole Foods, and he looked at me, man, I know you from somewhere. I said, well, I don't know, you know. And he goes, did you find Bob Sapp? Man, and it's funny because this video, I think, has over 3 million views on YouTube, so it's crazy.
Wow, that is cool. If I want to get to know you a little bit better. What do you do when you're not doing jiu-jitsu?
Man, I'm a pretty laid back guy. I just like my time. My schedule is so busy. When I'm not teaching, I'm training. When I'm not training, I'm traveling, doing seminars, competing and stuff. But usually when I'm around and I get some free time, I like to relax, watch some movies, enjoy the weather outside. I'll do a lot of outdoors activity. Lately this year I started skydiving and it's been really nice. So I'm pretty adventurous, and surf before, snowboarding now in the winter. I'm glad I don't have any fights scheduled for the next 2 months, so I can actually go snowboarding, something that I haven't done in a while, because I always had fights scheduled around winter time. But now this year I'm going to go a couple of times.
How often do you said you haven't got to snowboard much. Have you done that very much in the past?
Yeah, I've done it a lot. I liked it a lot. Even I think before I started competing in MMA, I was doing a lot because, I live in New York City. And there's here's not the greatest, but you have a few mountains around, within 1 hour from here, we have a little mountain. Then have as you go further down up to Vermont, you have some pretty big mountains, but I wish just the quality of the snow was better.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to come and find where you're training at, where do you train?
Right now I'm training at Renzo's. You're probably going to see me in 2 places. At the main school, most likely during the day. Morning and days I'm at the Manhattan location, and then at night time I'm off to teach at his location in Jersey, in Middletown, New Jersey.
Wow, that's great. You mentioned skydiving. I can't leave that one alone. You said you started skydiving last year?
Yeah, this last summer, and it was an amazing experience. And it's awesome. It's probably one of the most hardcore and fun things that I did in my life.
What was it? Tell me. I've never been skydiving. Kind of tell me what to expect if I go.
Man, one thing that I can tell by experience, that it's a lot safer than people think. People think I'm gonna go skydiving, I'm gonna die. No, man, your odds are man, the probably odds to die was almost as close to the one to win the Powerball. It's just skydiving, just like any other sport. The way if you take it too extreme, you start running some risk. But other than that, man, it's a very fun. The crowd there. Usually the skydivers, they're very fun people. It's like a family. So it was really nice, very nice. I recommend anyone to do it. Yeah,
and your first time. Is it a rule that somebody has to hook onto your back and they help you through kind of your first jump?
Yes. First you do a tandem jump. They hook with you. They pretty much do everything. Then if you think that you want to do by yourself, then you got to go through school. You do a couple more tandem jumps, and then you do you jump with instructors, your own parachute, but the instructor hold on to you. And so it's almost it was good to see, it was good to become a student again,
Yeah.
The aspect of it. I consider myself a student of Jiu-Jitsu, every day, but Jiu-Jitsu, I feel that the level that I am, I'm kind of not that I studied, Yeah. And of course, I exchange positions. I learn from, my brothers, Renzo, my uncles. I learn from everybody here, even my students, but it's more of almost like a study and research type of thing. But when I go to learn a completely different activity or skill, it's good to be a student. It feels good to be. Yeah.
It's so new at it that somebody is jumping with you, it's versus it's like if you go to class and you're not quite ready to actually roll afterwards because you're that new, you need a little bit more guidance before you're ready, I guess, but that sounds like an amazing experience.
No, it was awesome. One thing that because my brothers did also, and I have a couple other friends that train with us. They also went there and did the course as well, and they started skydiving also. But the funny thing is, I consider myself a white belt at skydiving. But and then I see the the other guys, they're younger than they're starting the newbies, the real newbies. I'm a newbie, but like the guys who has like less jumps than me, and I started to give them advice and stuff, and then like we realized like, man, look at us. We're like just like the white belts who were so pumped that they start training. They start teaching the other guys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So now I understand that feeling a little more. Like the young blue belt or the 3 or 4 stripe white belt is already teaching some moves to the fresh meat. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, it's a whole new cycle of learning and development.
Yes.
In the atmosphere. So that's pretty neat. You said that you started Jiu-Jitsu as a child. When did you take it? Start taking it real seriously, or was that pretty early on?
I always competed. I remember competing since age probably like 9, 10. But I remember training since young. But so at the time that you start competing, of course, at the young age, I don't know if I was taking super serious. I was very successful in my early years in the yellow belt. But I think when you become a teenager and you're starting to realize what you want for yourself, what path you want to take, then things start to get more serious, for sure. Maybe when I was like a blue belt, then things are getting more serious, for sure.
Yeah. Could you describe your style, or kind of like your game that you play when you do jiu-jitsu?
Man, that's a very interesting question, because just the other day I was talking to one of the guys here, one of the black belts here in the school, and I was thinking, I said, man, for a while I was trying to figure out what's my style of rolling or my style of competing, but I realized I don't have one. To me it's a lot like to me, it's a lot of figuring out on the go too. Especially when I'm rolling. I'm not like the type of guy that, let's say, I want to always do the same thing and bring the game to a certain position. Like they say, some guys like close guard, not just looking to close my guard and only do that. And if the guy opens my guard, I'm looking to close it again and have a few setups for a few things. I feel that I think that's one advice for the young people they're learning. You gotta, the key to understand jiu-jitsu is actually I just said it, the key is to understand it. You gotta try to figure out things. You gotta try to understand how things work and the way leverage works, because sometimes, because jiu-jitsu is so unique, and they're like sometimes a thing that I do, because of your body type, it might work on you. But maybe a guy that holds me a little different, has a slightly different body type, it might not work. So instead of trying to learn, to do the same move in people in every body type, or according to what they do, I think it's much easier once you understand things. Of course, you need to have a knowledge, but once you understand how things work, the guy's grabbing me this way, so he probably wants this or that. So I think it gets much easier for you to start to go on your own and not just only follow directions, So of course I think I like being on top. I feel very comfortable being on the bottom, but I don't think I have like one style, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty common with somebody.
Let's put it this: I don't have one game.
Yeah,
like my style. Yeah, my style will be, let's say, close the gap and leave no space style. That could be it, but I don't think I have a go-to game.
Is that because you've had so much experience and time on the mats that you've just got a large variety of things you could do, versus maybe somebody who's a little bit newer and they have just a smaller set of techniques to use?
I think it's part, maybe because the way I grew up in the sport. Yeah. Okay. It's if you see the way things are in Brazil, and the way things are over here, it's the teaching methods is a little different. Okay. Of course, Jiu-Jitsu became so popular, so that we have to change the style of teaching a little bit to the broader population, right? But when I grew up, Jiu-Jitsu was still small. The people who were only doing that were the guys who who didn't mind getting their face smashed, and pretty much everybody wanted to compete and stuff. So it was a little different. So we had to figure out a lot on ourselves, by ourselves, you know. As today it's very common to see the teacher giving everything, feeding the students, like everything like ready to go, you know. So I think sometimes the student doesn't have the chance to develop abilities on their own by themselves, and I think that's a huge part of it.
I'm trying to think about this, and maybe at the beginning it makes them get better faster, but would it make them not have a deeper understanding long term if they haven't had to think for themselves and figure things out as much, or could they make up that gap later on?
Oh yeah, they can. Of course, in the beginning, they need to learn some knowledge. You know, the one type of system that I'm using with my teachings now is I get a few weeks and I feed them knowledge, and then for a couple weeks or 3 weeks or so, I let them train more. I make them train more. They're training. They're trying to apply what they learn. Right? Yeah. And then after, and when I pay attention, and sometimes I see that some are able to get to apply those things. Some don't. The majority they have a hard time applying. Then I start to feed them some concepts, so they can understand and start thinking for themselves and understand why it didn't work. Because sometimes, like I said, I teach you a move, and then you go drill. Your partner makes your life easy. You know, your partner has the body type, your same body type, and you guys get along, and things flow. And maybe when you're rolling, things flow also. You know, but maybe because you got used to training with this guy, and then you go train another guy, his body type is different. He's stronger. Instead of being more flexible, things change. So the guys think, oh, but with this guy, this doesn't work. Okay, so you can do pretty much the same move, but with a little tweak, you know, you a little adjustment, you know, and that's what the student needs to figure out by themselves, because the teacher cannot just, you know, teach them how to do things on every single type of people. Yeah, you know,
and that's the deeper understanding, and then your amount of time where you get to test it out on different types of people.
Yes, you know, so like yes, so sometimes I think to apply I believe in teaching a lot of and making the students understand the concept of things, and making them understand how leverage works. And when you're rolling, there's moments that you got to stop and think what you want and see what's on your way. Don't just react and, you know, and see, and hopefully things will if you're looking to pass a guard and just react, and hopefully you wind up on side mount. You know, there's a lot of puzzle solving. You gotta look, see what's your problem, and solve the problem. That's Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. Plain and simple, this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You said you're 37, I'm 36. I find myself doing a few techniques maybe, or sometimes not doing a few techniques that I used to do when I was a little bit younger. Do you find yourself doing that a little bit, or have you changed your game that much?
I feel that like I said, if I have a game, my game, what I do, it kind of goes in circles, right? At one point, I'm doing this, then maybe this is not working so well, I change, I start doing something else, then something else and something else, but then I realized I'm doing the same thing I was doing maybe a couple of years ago, you know? But when I'm back doing the same thing, I'm actually doing it better.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily in a particular order, but I feel that like instead of sometimes people think in Jiu-Jitsu as a line, okay? I like to see more as a circle. And every time you go back to the same spot, you're doing it better. Yeah. And you're actually making your circle broader, you know. And every time you're in the same area, you're making it better. You're expanding your circle. You know, sometimes people think too much like in a linear way. Maybe like, oh, I used to do this when I was a white belt. Maybe I don't need to do anymore. No, you're gonna do this when you learn things when you were a white belt for a reason, because these things work. Maybe when you're a black belt, you're going to do it better.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hollis, would it make so the circle as you get better, you how about like a spring shape thing where you're going around and you're doing things that you did last time, but you're going up too, and you're getting better with skill as like each time you go around back to that circle. Does that make sense?
it's almost like an infinite spring that ones that like in a funnel shape, but you know, but the smaller part is in the bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the more you grow up, the spring gets wider and wider.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So they'll be it. There'll be a perfect analogy to what I think.
Because I think people understand that you start jiu-jitsu and you could learn a rear naked choke, and then you could go watch a high level match or high level fight and see a rear naked choke, but that doesn't mean that your rear naked choke, if you've got like a year or 2 years or sometimes even a long time on with training, would have worked on that a person. There's so many little things that are going on in it, and you keep getting better at those techniques as you progress.
Yeah, I agree. It's like sometimes a simple cross choke, like there's a huge difference. Like the greatest example of a cross choke, if we think without blinking, it will be Roger.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What's the difference than his cross choke than the cross choke that the white belt learns or maybe on his first day or second day in school? The teacher probably showed him probably the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Roger's doing that is Roger's using to finish every single guy on a Worlds, to become an absolute world champion. So, but Roger is doing so much for such a long time. He's perfect at it, and he's finding, little ways to get there. But if you analyze the choke, it's pretty much the same. Of course, but how he applies it, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and it looks like it's the same thing, but it's getting extraordinary results against opponents who are extremely difficult to catch in that technique.
He's not only bad at the choke, but he's better at positioning himself for it. His balance to secure the mount is better to it. Sometimes like probably the difference for a white belt, he's gonna mount. He's gonna see, I know the choke from here. Before he even like secures the mount or make sure he's stable on the mount, he's gonna go after the choke. And guess what? He's going to get bumped off or put back in guard. So didn't ever get a chance to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, it's a great example. Do you do any self-defense training with your students? I do.
How
is that different than the normal jiu-jitsu, or is it?
No, I think it's jiu-jitsu. I think it's jiu-jitsu. Like people these days, they're separating jiu-jitsu. I do this jiu-jitsu, I don't do that jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu. It's a very broad martial arts. Jiu-jitsu is everything. Jiu-jitsu, they have, people like say, jiu-jitsu, there's no striking. Jiu-jitsu, no, of course there is. There is a that kick that was famous, that people learned from, not from, they saw Royce doing a lot on the early UFCs. That's a kick. And that's and at that point, Royce never did any other martial art, so he learned that in jiu-jitsu. So those things, they have a way, So jiu-jitsu is a very broad martial art. So I think when people start to mutilating it, I don't really agree when people start mutilating. So I understand, like maybe but I don't wanna do the self-defense part. I wanna do just the sports jiu-jitsu. Okay, but have you thought about it that maybe the leverages that you're learning from self-defense moves they can apply on the ground? People don't think that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't want to learn the defense for the punch because I don't, the punch to clinch to take down because I don't plan on getting on a street fight. Okay, but have you thought about that? This a lot of concepts there can apply on the mat. That's why I don't believe in like people say, I want to learn Jiu-Jitsu for MMA. I want to learn this for Jiu-Jitsu. I want to learn this for that. Man, you want to learn something? Go learn something. You know what I mean? And then you're going to apply the concepts to what you want to do.
I love it. It sounds so simple when you say it like that, and it just makes me think about my passive training and what I could do differently.
So sometimes people say, I'm gonna go on a fight, an MMA fight, and the guy takes everybody down. So I wanna learn the takedown defense. No, man, don't learn the takedown defense. The guy takes everybody down. you need to learn how to take people down. And then you're going to learn how to defend. Because you see how probably he's going to do it. And that's it. So people just want to use the defense. No, I believe you got to learn everything.
Yeah.
And the best and one of the best examples that apply that towards MMA is George St. Pierre. He wants to learn Jiu-Jitsu. He didn't go to learn Jiu-Jitsu for MMA. He put the gi on, and he go roll with the best with the gi on. You know, maybe when he's getting too close to the fight, he took his gi off because he's got to get adapt to get used to how he's going to compete. You know,
it kind of reminds me. We were talking about like learn to take somebody down, and your takedown defense will be better. I think a common example maybe would be somebody who learns to play the guard first, and then they spend time and work on their guard passing. And when they're done with that, or they have a decent guard pass, their guard is way better, and they haven't worked on their guard for quite some time. Have you seen that before?
Yeah, I think you got to learn everything.
Yeah.
This is like I always like to say. This is like a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you cannot mutilate parts of the art. You need to. Every single thing is important because if you go back in the days, that's what brought us here. If Jiu-Jitsu was just the sport Jiu-Jitsu back when my grandfather started, if he was just thinking about, just going to do this to compete and not being traumatic, and we just like sport Jiu-Jitsu, we probably wouldn't be this far.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about training and getting ready for competitions. Does your training change much when you're getting ready for MMA?
Just a focus, maybe. Just a focus. Like I said, I like to like I said, Jiu-Jitsu is very complete. Jiu-Jitsu is it gives all the tools, for an MMA fight. But when you're actually going to compete, you need to focus. You need to start applying it. You need to combine everything. Take your gi off and go throw some kicks and punches. Maybe get training with some guys that their focus are only like on kick and punching. Maybe train with the guys their sole focus is to take you down or avoid being taken down. It's just a focus, that changes.
Cool. That's interesting, and it sounds like you do a wide variety of training when you're doing MMA and when you're not doing MMA, and working on all parts of your game.
Oh yeah, of course. It's I hear everybody saying, they talk about, when you're, I used to be people who used to be students of my father. They say, oh yeah, man, remember, when I used to train back in the days at your father's school, we started training, we start with some takedowns, maybe we did some self-defense, then we moved to the ground, we did some stuff, then maybe in the end, everybody will take the gi off, maybe they'll do some clinch work, and one guy trying to punch, the other guy trying to take each other down, and then maybe in the end we just finish by rolling with just no gi. So like if you see like in one day, like people work a lot of stuff, or maybe like maybe not necessarily in one day, but like in 1 week, there was a lot of people working, all aspects of the art.
Yeah, you mentioned a little while ago about how when you were younger, how everybody was real serious about training, and it was very hard training environments, and now maybe it's changed a little bit as far as some of the people who train are just kind of training for fun and learning jiu-jitsu and not as maybe aggressive and does that make sense than they used to be? Yeah. How does that? How do you feel about that change?
Oh, I think change is good. Like before, like I said, like the spectrum of was very narrow of the people they wanted to train. I think Jiu-Jitsu is such a beautiful art that we have to adapt for everybody else. You cannot get a person that maybe he's not a tough guy by nature, but so we adapt the sport. We make it a little easier for them, okay? And then in the end, a few months down the road, the guy becomes a tough guy. You know what I mean? So that's very real. So it's like, that's the natural evolution, But I think it's how can I say? When I said before that, before was more hardcore. No, I think because maybe Jiu-Jitsu wasn't so popular. You know, maybe it would be before Jiu-Jitsu got popular. You know, in Brazil was growing a lot. You know, Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil is almost like even though it's like a huge country, but it's almost like a little town. You know, because Jiu-Jitsu was in Rio. Rio was probably the main, the main city in. It's not the biggest, but like it's the main culture-wise. That spreads. So what happens in Rio spreads to the rest of the country very fast, you know, because all the main TV station is there, and all the soap operas happen there, and so like it helps spread out there. The major media outlets were there, so it helped spread. But after Jiu-Jitsu got popular in the U.S., man, then it spread out to the world because the U.S. is like a window to the world, you know. So everybody wants to do what's happening here, and or buy stuff. And when you listen to songs that people listen here, eat the food that people here eat here, and so it was the same thing with Jiu-Jitsu. Once it got popular here, it got popular the rest of the world. And so, man, this is an amazing thing to see, like how big this sport got.
Has the Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil changed a little bit? Like you mentioned how it's not so aggressive here, and a lot of people are training for fun. Has that changed in Brazil, or is it still kind of like the way it used to be?
It did. So like the same way, like I said, the way people copy the model here.
Okay.
This system works. Here, like, look at the schools. All the schools, like, back there, remember back in the days when you see somebody, oh, man, that school, the guy has 80 students. 80! Man, he has lots of students. Wow! You know what I mean? Like, you'll be like, man, it's amazing. Because, now, if somebody says, oh, yeah, I have a school, I have about, 50, 60 students, people say, yeah, you have a lot of room for improvement. Doesn't matter where you are. You know what I mean? So it's like very common to see guys in little cities with like 200, 300 students, So, and people saw that, wow, we can do the same thing in Brazil, and make this, the sport more, or the art more appropriate for every person, because tough guys have tough guys everywhere in the world. They have tough guys here, tough guys in Brazil, but these are always a small percentage, No, when I say tough guy, not thinking that everybody else is a coward, not that. But I'm talking about a matter of, how can I say, a matter of goals in life. Some guy doesn't want to be like, with a sweaty guy mashing his face, and has nothing to do with being tough or not. It's just a matter of, maybe the guy has a long day at work, he's not looking to be like a professional fighter. He just want to go there, decompress, and understand, and make some friends, chat, and learn something, and take care of his body, his health. So, So I think we in Brazil change a little bit, yes, for sure.
That's cool. When did you move to the U.S.?
I moved here about 12 years ago.
Can you tell me maybe a story about moving to the U.S., maybe something that happened that was challenging or that surprised you?
Man, the funny thing was when I moved here, I went to California first. I think it was around October, a little before like Thanksgiving, I remember, because I remember Thanksgiving. I just got here. And I like it. I visited before, but then I took a trip to New York, right? My brother was here, Renzo was here in New York, and stuff. And when I got here, like they both convinced me that I needed to be here. Renzo was expanding his school, and his school was growing. I had the focus to fighting MMA. At the time, they were, Renzo, Ryan, all those guys. They were fighting Pride. Ryan was always here. Ryan, when I took the trip, Ryan was here at the time. And Ryan was a great supporter of me my entire life. So they convinced me to stay. Said, man, you gotta be here. This is the place. Renzo's fighting there. He's gonna watch over you. He's gonna put you to fight there. He's gonna train you for that, which is most important. And I said, yeah, nice. I personally, at the time, think like, oh yeah, but I'm from Rio. I don't know if you haven't ever been in Rio, but Rio is like, I live by the beach. Like I grew up like 1 block from the beach. I wanted to go to the beach every day between training sessions and stuff. It's a beautiful city. And then in California, it sounds more like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the more laid back environment and stuff. When they convinced me, when it came to New York, it's like the huge difference, and when I took the trip to New York, it was like in about January or something. It was right after New Year's. So I got here from like, I can say pretty much straight from Brazil, but I just went to California, but California wasn't very cold. So the place was so cold and stuff. And the guys trying to convince me to stay here. I said, man, I'm not gonna last in this city. It's noisy. It's dirty. I remember like taking a shower and going to the street, and then I feel my hair all like stiff, and I put my hand on my hair. I was like, man, I didn't put hair gel today. You know what I mean? And my hair was like frozen. And like, man, I used to get out of the subway. I would try to. I was lost. I couldn't know which direction I was, so I would try to get information from people. People walk by, they don't even stop like New York, like everybody in a rush. And I had to find a police officer so actually he can point me in the right direction, or somebody that was working for the city or something like that. But man, a few months go by. I love this place. Man, it's crazy. I thought it was going to last here I wasn't going to last 2 months, But everything was so great, about it. The structure that I had here for training, teaching, and everything. The way Renzo opened its doors for me, and the way he embraced me, he put me over here. So it was, like I don't see my man. That's the place I love it. Like to me, New York's the greatest city in the world today.
Wow!
Once you get used to, man, this is the best city in the world.
I was a little surprised when you said that you like to snowboard because of the cold, and it sounds like you had a little bit of a shock with the cold at first, and then you got used to it.
Yeah, because when I first snowboarded, I think I was 15 or so, 14, 15. We went to Lake Tahoe, my mother, my brothers, and stuff. So we took a trip to Lake Tahoe. It was like an amazing experience, And I never did it since until I moved here to New York. And I remember when I first moved here, the guys were here before that, and they were always going to Vermont, taking ski trips. But I just got here. I wasn't going because I had priorities. My priorities was to see how I was gonna make money instead of just spending, So it wasn't the time for me. So the guys were going, and I wanted to go. But then on the next winter, I worked. I saved some money, and then I bought a board and stuff, and then I actually took it. And then when I wanted to go snowboarding here, there was no snow, so I actually bought I plane ticket. I had a friend in Colorado. I went to Colorado. We snowboarded there for a little bit, and ever since I love it. It's just I think snowboarding is a great sport. It's just it's cold only if you don't have the right equipment. If you have good boots, good gloves, and good equipment, then you don't feel cold. You probably can feel more cold than like in the ocean by the sun. Surfing.
Where's your favorite place to snowboard at?
For the places I've been, I like Colorado the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't been to Utah, Wyoming, and I haven't been to Canada, the West Coast yet. But Colorado, is the best for me.
Yeah, it's beautiful too.
Beautiful, very beautiful. It's a beautiful state.
How many students do you teach there?
Here?
Yeah.
In New York City, the school we have, I can say 1,000 students, maybe give or take. And then in our school in Jersey, we have, around 200 students. Wow.
That's a lot of people to keep track of.
Yes, it's a lot of people that are, that is looking. If you realize it's a little, you got to realize that the responsibility we have, because we are role models for all these people,
Yeah.
And I'm not even counting like the seminars I go do almost every other week. Wow. So it's so I feel myself very fortunate to be in an environment that way.
That's amazing. If one of the students that you're teaching has maybe a year or two on, or a year or two of training, and they want to do a competition, what would you say to them to help get them ready?
I mean, I usually don't force my students to compete.
Yeah.
I leave it completely up to them. Sometimes like they go compete and don't even tell me. but when they ask me for advice, I just try to. First thing I say is, man, it's already going to be a lot of pressure. You're already putting a lot of pressure on yourself, and stuff's going to be like, probably going to be nerve-wracking. It's going to be nerve-wracking. Man, I just try to, I know it's going to be hard, but just try to go there and have fun. I'm proud of you regardless of what happened in there. You go there, you tap in 10 seconds, you're still my student, you're still going to work on things and just try to make the best out of it, if the guy's going to compete for the first time.
Yeah, that's a very important advice. Was there a time that you competed where it wasn't fun, and then maybe a time after that when you changed the way you were thinking about things to where it was fun again? And what happened between that?
Oh yeah, I probably didn't do great on my first competition. Did
you have fun though?
Yeah, always.
Well, that's good.
Honestly, I can't really remember my first competition, but the one I remember. I think my first competition was state champion, was the yellow belt. I won it, but I probably at the time I probably could have performed better, But just gotta try to go there and have fun. It might be easier to when you start competing when you're a kid because kids go there and have fun.
Yeah,
they're more pure in the heart. They don't see the responsibility unless the parents is putting a lot of responsibility and pressure on them. Kids have fun regardless. So yeah, maybe that was easier for me.
That's good, and that's a good. Kids are always out there having a great time, and as long as their parents aren't too hard on them. So
it's very common in Brazil. You see like kids, usually they have the tournaments like in sport clubs, like not places that have like soccer fields and stuff. So it's very common to see the kids playing soccer like in the soccer field with the gi on, and suddenly somebody calls, "Hey!" The teacher goes, "Hey, it's your turn." The kid goes running, running the match. He does his match, win, lose. He gets out and keep going playing soccer, and then it's up again. We adults know we put too much pressure on ourselves. We don't sleep. We think about we stay on the corner, stretching with the headphones on. We put ourselves in our own bubble. So yeah, man, I like one competition. I like to stay close to my training partners, talk and relax. Of course, when it's getting close to the match time, you're gonna go warm up and focus and think what you're doing. Yeah, but having fun is the key.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what you said earlier about it being a marathon, not a sprint. You could, if it's not fun, you could still do it, but you're not going to do it. You're not going to be doing it 10 years from now or 20 years from now. You're not going to stick with it with the long term.
Exactly. That's what it matters. What matters is exactly. I see a lot of the guys who used to compete. They're my age, and they used to compete when I was, blue belt, purple belt. I don't see them anymore. Even some guys that competed on the same division or same age group when I was a brown belt or even black belt, you don't see them around anymore. So yeah, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Not a sprint.
And that's just probably because they didn't enjoy it as much as you did, maybe, and they, fill their time with other activities. You think, or
could be, or maybe from the beginning I just thought I knew I was in for the long run.
Yeah,
regardless if I was going to be the greatest champion or not a competitor at all. I knew this was going to be part of my life from day one until the very last day.
Yeah.
So I approach this in a different way.
What would be a goal if one of your students is in their first year, what would be a good goal for them to work towards to get better at jiu-jitsu?
A goal? I wouldn't recommend them to compete at all on their first year. I think that when I grew up, not having tournaments for in Brazil, we didn't have tournaments for white belts. You wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see that because when you're white belt, you need to learn. You need to have no responsibility. You need to let your game, your jiu-jitsu flow without hesitation.
Yeah.
But when you're competing, you start to prepare yourself just to win that tournament. So you're putting a lot of limit on your jiu-jitsu. So, and then, here you start seeing like all these tournaments and, a lot of white belts competing and stuff. And I mean, it's up to them, but I think it will hurt a white belt will get hurt on the long run for when it comes to if they start competing too soon.
Wow. So you're saying focus more on your jiu-jitsu and getting better at the techniques, and don't worry so much about actually getting to win and getting to be better than anybody else. Is just spend that time as a white belt getting better.
Yeah, I think like if you want to compete as a white belt, no problem. Times they change, have more people, more competition and stuff. But I wouldn't do anything different. I wouldn't cut short. I wouldn't add any shortcuts on my student's game if he wants to compete as a white belt. I wouldn't be behind. Maybe he's gonna go there and maybe not win, maybe. But if I just start, don't do this, just go for that, so you're gonna win. I mean, he might win the tournament but then lose on the long run. So I'd rather if he wins on the long run.
Well, I think that's great advice about. I think a lot of times when especially, I guess any level, they worry a lot about points and about advantages and things like that. But just worrying about positions and techniques is probably better in the long run. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Can you think of a time that maybe you were frustrated with jiu-jitsu or things you were trying to learn and it was difficult, and what you did to get around that?
If I can think of a time?
Yeah.
Let me try. I'm going to have to think.
On
that one.
That's okay.
Man, I don't know. Of course, there is some...
maybe an injury or...
There's some training sessions that things don't click, the way you want. But I understand maybe like you get frustrated and upset on the moment. But when you go home and you actually get to rest a little bit or wake up on the next day, you understand why. But yeah, man, I got frustrated at one point. I hurt myself a lot, especially like around between brown and black belt. I feel there was a great time physically and technically in my life, and I missed a couple world championships because of that, and that was like something that that frustrated me. When I was there in the stands, paying attention to my division and say, man, I could have taken this. To me, there's no worse feeling than you say, man, I could have won that, and you didn't get a chance to go there.
And that was due to injuries?
Yeah, due to injuries. So
do you train maybe a little bit differently now, or were those just kind of bad luck injuries that you couldn't really be avoided?
I mean, of course, you're training. I learned with your mistakes,
Yeah.
I learned that maybe when you're young, 19, 20, 21, there's all the things that you're trying to prove yourself among, like, a pride of lions there, like it's like I said before, and when at that time it was like survival of the fittest, man, so you're there with these guys, you're trying to prove yourself, you're trying to prove that you're not a kid anymore, that you're a challenge for anyone, regardless of belt and weight, and that you're there to bring it, and sometimes you put a little more and you give less, and I learned that it's important to give, especially in training. It doesn't work to get hurt, especially it's better for you to tap or to accept a takedown or a sweep or a guard pass or anything, and then so you'll be fine for competition. You gotta beat. If your focus is competing, that should be, you shouldn't care if you're winning or losing on the mats at the gym.
Yeah, that could be difficult.
As long as you're getting better.
Yeah, that's great advice, and I think some people will struggle with that because it's difficult to, a competitive mindset. You don't want to get tapped in class, but it's important that you do. If you get tapped or you get in that spot, that you're healthy when your competition actually is ready. So you got to learn. That's a tough lesson sometimes learned, but an important one nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also a fine line because also you don't want to be too soft,
Yeah.
Then you're not really like pushing yourself. So yeah, you gotta learn. What's your limit?
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is the trust in your training partners and that they have your safety in mind when they have you in a bad spot too.
Yes, for sure. I definitely agree with that.
Hollis, a lot of people ask me, they'll say, I only could train once or twice a week, and I feel like I'm not getting any better. Can somebody train just once or twice a week and get better? And if so, what kind of advice do you give them to make the most out of their training time?
Yeah, they can. It's just a matter of the mentality you put in it. Okay, probably like let's say let's talk about make a great analogy here real quick. Let's say if you go to, it's very common to see people study from home or doing like this online schools, stuff, and right?
Yeah.
So probably like they might not have the teacher there with them, okay? But I'm talking about not jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, I believe you just gotta be hands-on. I don't really believe in jiu-jitsu. Just online jiu-jitsu, but I'm talking about this because my girlfriend she had a very busy schedule. She was a model since early ages, and she had to study, from the internet. She just had to do study from schools that they provide you the material, you learn. They have virtual classes, and you study, and then you go do the test, the exams, and then you get your grade and graduate or not. And I saw that with my eyes, the effort that she put in. She was probably studying more than people who are actually physically in class.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, she was no joking. She had like a busy day, come back at home and study all weekend, study at nights, and when she wasn't working, she was studying. And I told her that I'm very proud of her because of that. But my analogy with that is you gotta change your focus. Sometimes people go there every day. They get a chance to one day they're just gonna go there and relax. One day they're just gonna go there and work one thing. One day they're gonna go hard and stuff. When you're going there twice a day, you gotta be. You don't have time to lose. Okay, you gotta go there, and especially like you don't want to be just it's very hard for me to put it, but you don't want to just be. You got to think about solely on getting your jiu-jitsu better. Okay, you cannot go there with the mentality, I gotta beat this guy. No, you gotta go there with the mentality is, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna beat myself every day, and every day I'm gonna get better. Yeah, so there are ways if you can only train once, twice a week to still evolve and still be good.
That's great to hear, and it sounds like great advice, and I believe it too. If you're a busy person and you can only train certain times a week, and you go do that, it sounds like you're saying if you focus and you work hard when you're there, you will get better. And versus somebody who goes all the time and they they're just there, they're not paying attention very well, and they're joking around a lot and they're having fun, but they're not getting as good as they could with the time that they have on the mat.
Once I heard from a very wise coach of mine, Martin Rooney. He once told me, have a big enough why, and you'll figure out how. So yeah, if jiu-jitsu is something that's very important for you, you're gonna figure out a way to to be more in the mats and and get better at it.
Wow. Have a big enough why, know why you're doing something, and you'll figure out how.
You'll figure out how.
Wow. And that's true. If it's important enough to you, you'll figure out how to do it.
Well, sometimes it's very easy for the person to say, oh, yeah, I don't have time. Yeah. Man. Like I see people like the busiest people, man, they find a way to do more.
Yeah.
So like usually the people say they don't have time, they don't really, they have those that won't have the most time. So yeah, you want it, man. You're gonna tell. So usually I tell my students, man, you're gonna tell me you don't have, 4 or 5 hours a week for yourself. And if they tell me, no, I don't, then the first thing I say is like, maybe you should rethink your priorities.
Yeah. That's good.
You gotta take care of. You gotta. That in the long run is gonna hurt you. You might be frustrated because you don't have time for yourself. So, man, I believe everybody should dedicate at least 1 hour a day for themselves to do whatever they want, whatever they please them. Whatever make them a better person.
That kind of goes back with your analogy earlier about the sprint versus the marathon. If you spend no time on yourself and making yourself a better person, and you're just working all the time and helping others around you, that's like a sprint. And in the long run, you're going to probably burn out and have negative consequences to your health or to what you're trying to do. Spending a little bit of time on yourself, whether it be jiu-jitsu or education or exercise, whatever, that helps you. It sounds like more like a marathon mode. Does that make sense?
Yes. I believe in helping others too. Like jiu-jitsu, it's you gotta help your training. If you help your training partners, the training partners are gonna help you. Yeah, but you gotta have some time for yourself as well. You cannot just give and not receive. So, yeah, you're gonna dedicate time to your family. You're gonna dedicate time to your work, and you gotta dedicate time to yourself as well. The day's a long day, man. 24 hours.
Yes, it is.
Just one for yourself.
Hollis, it's been real fun talking with you and getting to know you. How could somebody keep up with you and what you're doing?
Man, they can always follow me on Instagram. I'm there. Facebook and stuff. So it's always very easy to find. Or come, roll with me here in the New York, New Jersey area.
Cool.
That's probably the best way and most fun way.
The most jiu-jitsu experience is to just show up and roll with you.
Yes.
I'll put links to your Instagram, Facebook, and website there, so people could get a hold of you pretty easily.
Sounds good, man. It was very fun. I like this because this podcast because I get to to say what I think, and it was we was flowing. Sometimes people just have like this questions like, oh, how was growing up at Gracie? Was a lot of pressure and this and that. Man, I'm actually tired of those questions. But this was very fun. I like to talk more about the hands-on jiu-jitsu. That's always the most fun.
Yeah,
was really nice.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you getting on here with me. And
nice, man. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, brother. Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
Yep, nice talking to you too. Once again, I want to thank Rolles Gracie for the interview. It's great to catch up with somebody like that and learn what they're up to, and he shared lots of jiu-jitsu knowledge with us, which is always nice.
And too bad Byron happened to miss the seminar when he came to town.
Yep, I'm going to regret that until he.
I told you I will not let you forget that one.
He'll have to come back someday, and I'll get a chance to get my cross stroke a little bit tighter. Gary, we mentioned before that there's a breast cancer awareness seminar coming up, and if you want to go donate money for that, you could do that online. You don't have to be in the location of the seminar, so that's a great way to support both communities, breast cancer and jiu-jitsu. But how we got this information is our friend JP Garcia sent us a message on Facebook, which is an easy way to get a hold of us.
Yep, we're always on the interwebs, so we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Send us an email, bjjbrick@gmail.com. If anything you got coming up, let us know. We'll get it on the show.
Hey, Gary, I put out a questionably legal or illegal video on our Facebook page.
Was it questionable, illegal?
Was
it like a snuff video?
I used footage from the UFC's fight with Ryan Bader and Anthony Johnson, and I broke it down what happened in that fight. That was one of the worst displays of grappling I have seen at a high-level UFC fight. It was so terrible. I saw that, and I'm saying to myself, I gotta. This doesn't make any sense at all what he's trying to do. So I made like a little breakdown video of what happened, and I tried to throw it up on our YouTube channel, and they said, you can't put this on here. You know, somebody's claiming property rights. But Facebook, no problem.
So, hey, don't forget to stay tuned next week where Ryan Bader calls in and talks to Byron.
Yeah, and I call it like I see it. His bottom game grappling was terrible. He gave up side control. He was trying to work this weird like leg position, and it's just and he worked it with like weak like fingertip grips, and when his grips failed, he was in no position to escape. Like I don't know, I saw that, and I know Gary's like an amazing Kimura guy, but for what he was doing didn't look like it was going to be effective at all, and it got blown through. I mean, it didn't work for him, and I don't know. Maybe he's just playing top game all the time. But so if you want to actually see my opinions on this, there's a video on our Facebook page somewhere. Somewhere. You have to dig a little deep, maybe a couple weeks back, but it's on there.
It's on there.
Unless we got in trouble and got yanked down.
Yeah. But, hey, speaking of that, checking out that video by Byron there, but let us know how we're doing. Go on to iTunes and give us a review. We like funny reviews. Even if you're going to trash us, make it funny. But if you do make it funny, send us an email to let us know that was you. Send it to bjjbrick@gmail.com. Let us know that it was you who put up that review. And if you are in the good old United States, we'll send you a gi patch absolutely free. It's a small round gi patch, the same as our BJJ brick caption with Byron smashing me in the face with a brick, and we'll get that out to you.
Yep. That is true. It's worth it to read those fun reviews from our listeners to send out a gi patch and pay that little price. Then that we get a kick out of those.
One of these days we're going to have to have a Hall of Fame of reviews.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, nominate every year. Let's do that every year. Let's take what we get from each year and nominate them. What we think, a couple of them to the Hall of Fame.
Okay, is it? Maybe next show we cover last year.
Yeah. Next
I hope
show,
we remember, Gary.
February now. We'll pull all the ones up from last year, and we'll nominate a couple.
Okay. I'll need to write that down because I will forget. But,
I will too. It's a lot of times with jiu-jitsu, a lot of times we do get repetitive brain trauma. We're always getting our head smashed in the mat, so sometimes we do forget stuff.
Hey, Gary, speaking of next week's show, what we're going to talk about, what's going on next week?
Next week's show, we got Valerie Worthington. She's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out of Canada. I know we've covered some of her articles before, and she writes a lot of articles for BreakingMuscle.com, which seems like a lot of our articles come from either Breaking Muscle or Jiu-Jitsu Times. So we've got a great show next week, and Byron had an awesome interview, he told me, with Valerie.
Yep, I was super excited about the interview. And next week, we'll be finding our, maybe Gary and I will each present one of the top reviews from last year, 2015. And,
2015, Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame review show. It'll be at the end of the show.
We should have like an induction ceremony.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. This is going to be a really nice thing, Gary.
Yep. Hey, who came up with the idea, Byron?
I think it was Gary.
Hey, cool. Thanks for working with Ryan.
That guy. Man, that guy. He's pretty good. Speaking of coming up with great ideas and telling your friend like Gary just did, if you have a friend that does jiu-jitsu, we'd really appreciate it if you could tell them about this podcast. That's pretty much who we're wanting to talk to. If you enjoy it and you get something out of it, hopefully we help you a little bit with your training. Hopefully you have fun listening. I'm sure your buddy would too. Why not share the podcast with a friend?
Yeah, you figure most of your friends are probably like jiu-jitsu. It seems like likes hang out with likes. But speaking of jiu-jitsu, if you do happen to train and you happen to be coming through the Midwest and coming through good old Wichita, Kansas, let us know. Shoot us a line, bjjbrick@gmail.com. Put a message on our Facebook page. We'd love to get together and train.
That's true. It's always a good time, Gary. And the music is changing, which tells, I guess, the music isn't really changing.
The show's over.
It's coming on.
Okay.
No.
Yep,
this is your fancy time to do your audiobook music, Gary.
Oh, darn.
Well, this will be a fun one because we talked about a little bit about this before with the Attack the Back article about tattoos. Gary, this audiobook you've been working on and you're going to talk about today is called Prison Tats. 5 to 10? Yeah. How I made money serving my time with prison tats. And I'm just impressed that you came out making a profit, from the time you served, somewhere between 5 to 10. I don't know what you did, but somehow with your art skills maybe, or with a ballpoint pen or something. I don't know, Gary. Tell me a little bit about this book.
Well, this book is, what's more pleasing to look at than prison art, prison tattoos. And when you're serving time, a lot of times we don't have a lot of time, a lot to take our mind off of when we're just sitting in our cell. We're kind of bored, and we don't have access to a lot of things people in the free world have. So one thing we do is prison tats. It's a good way to make money. That way I can get a couple extra M&Ms each week, or maybe buy a shank on the free market. Speaking of shanks, if you listen to our last couple episodes, you'll learn a little bit about there. But so the good thing is there's trade going on in prison, and if you're a good tattoo artist, you can make a little bit of money. And so it's my podcast is just talking about the prison tattoos and how shows some examples of them and how it's done underneath the guard's eyes. Wow,
Gary, I'm impressed by some of these. I'm looking at them as I flip through this PDF here. That's going to be your new book. You did some really amazing things in prison with this art.
Yeah, some of my favorite was a lot of people, they really loved the I Was Framed tattoo. Yeah. So that was a popular one.
And you would also do little storyboards. Like this one here is a guy throwing a shank into a shower drain. It looks like he stabbed somebody beforehand, and you're commemorating the event with a beautiful piece of artwork.
Yeah, what else? You got to turn bad into good. So, it may not have been the best time, but you can make it artistic.
There you go. And you got color ink and everything in there. I'm impressed by this. I didn't know you're such an artist, Gary. And I'm thinking about the podcast listener. Some people will listen to an episode every week, they download the episode on Monday or Tuesday, and they're ready to go, and they listen to it. And some people just found this podcast, and they're downloading 10 or 20 at a time, and they're just listening to a lot in a row. I do that when I find a new podcast. And for the past, 4 episodes, we've talked about shanks. So this is kind of a fun thing. If you downloaded the last 4, we always talk about shanks at the end of the show, it seems like.
Yeah, shanks, prison tattoos, partners in crime. Pretty soon, we're probably going to do another 5 to 10, Byron.
Man.
Well, you haven't. I have.
Pretty soon.
Yep.
Yeah. But I did put out a semi-legal video that I borrowed footage from the UFC to break it down. I don't know how that's going to go down, Gary. I'm a little worried.
And Byron knows, I used to, back when I lived in New York, I'd spend time weekly in jails.
That's true.
In prisons, yep.
Gary would volunteer. This is, okay, very few of what we just said, it was actually true as far as, Gary's experience in prison. But Gary would actually volunteer to play basketball in the prison. So those guys have someone to play against. And that's just crazy. But that's true, Gary.
Hey, it's good competition. Those were always fun games.
Yep. And then if it got a little rough, the guards would step in and make sure that everybody was well behaved, including Gary.
Yeah, they'd mediate.
And you would say rude things if let's say Gary got dunked on, at least I'm going home tonight, and then they'd be mad at you. But
hey, I knew better to say anything like that. I was on my best manners.
Okay, I'm sure you were, Gary. You're a smart guy, and you're not that antagonizing of people who are in bad spots.
And I didn't know Jiu-Jitsu at that time.
There you go. You knew basketball, which really got you into prison.
But the cool thing is, it would have, that's another one for Chapter 3, benefits of Jiu-Jitsu. When you're confident in your abilities, you would be able to talk a little bit more smack on the basketball court.
Nice. What percent more can you talk?
I'd say at least 50%.
Whoa. Okay, that's just another reason to train.
Yep, another reason.
Well, cool. It's been a great show, Gary. I really enjoyed it.
It has. It's been a great show. It's always good to get on the mic with my partner in crime.
So, hey, just a little quick preview. Like Gary said, Valerie Worthington. Then we'll have Jen Hall, also formerly known as Jen Flannery. She's married to Ryan Hall, and we'll get to meet her and learn what she's up to and her training. After that, we have Roy Dean come on the show. So that's a little preview of the next couple shows out there. So got a lot more coming at you.
Yeah, that's an all-star lineup right there. So don't miss the next 3 or any episodes. So we appreciate you listening.
Yep. And as always, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.